All right, Herbie, help me out here. If Alabama and Ohio State were that close going into this weekend, according to the committee, then how did Ohio State not move up a little bit and Alabama go down since one played and one didn't?
I don't necessarily think that there's an equation or anything that you can point to as far as evidence. I think I'm an example of what the committee ended up doing. I said on game day Saturday morning at the ACC championship, and we got into this discussion, these what-if scenarios, and we said, what if the favorite scenario plays out? What if Ohio State beats Wisconsin, and who's going to be in that fourth spot? And I said, based on Ohio State's resume, they would be Big Ten champ, and they'd have 3 wins over Alabama. I thought Ohio State would have the edge. Then I watched the Ohio State-Wisconsin game, and I don't know if the committee looked at it the way I did, but after the Ohio State-Wisconsin game, you're asking me if the goal was to put the best 4 teams in. I said Alabama after watching the Big Ten championship. Despite them winning the game, I felt that Alabama should be the team that should go ahead of Ohio State. I don't know what the committee looks at. I know there are coaches on the committee. I got to believe that at the end of the day, when you watch 12 or 13 weeks of college football, I personally believe the best 4 teams are in the playoffs. How they got there, I'll leave it up to everybody to speculate because it's subjective.
But I also look at the conference title game, and I don't know the value of it, Herbie. USC, to me, should have been in where Wisconsin is now. I want to see what you've done in the last couple of weeks. Alabama hasn't looked impressive. Ohio State, you can't get rid of the Iowa loss. Where everybody understands that. They did go out and play a tough schedule. They played Oklahoma. They lost to Oklahoma. I understand all of those things. But by the end of the year, Alabama did not distinguish themselves as a great team. We know they're a great brand. I thought that these other schools that played for a conference championship, won a conference championship, at least have played well in the latter part of this season. Your thoughts?
Yeah, and I'm not trying to take away from what Ohio State and USC did this year. I mean, your goal when you get together in August, every conference, is to win a championship. And Ohio State, they get rings. They get their picture put up in the Woody Hayes facility. The same could be said for USC. So what they accomplished is great. Again, all I can go by is I agree with what you're saying about Alabama against Mississippi State and Auburn. It wasn't necessarily their best brand of football, and they would tell you that a lot of the injuries started to mount up, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I would tell you by the time these teams all get together in late December and early January, I would challenge you to watch Alabama and watch how they play against Clemson and tell me they're not one of the best 4 teams. It's just listen, I'm an Ohio. I went to Ohio State. I was a captain there. If anybody wants to pull out the pom-poms and say Ohio State should be there, you would think it would be me. I've always, for 22 years, said what I think, for better or worse. And I'm just telling you, after watching all these teams play, Alabama is better than USC. I don't care what the numbers show. I don't care what conference championships they're playing in. Alabama is a better team. So if the goal of the committee, they don't have to necessarily have answers for why they're putting teams in the top 4. Mm-hmm. They don't have to look at this team won this game, this team lost that game. You've got coaches that evaluate game film. And if they're going to look at the same thing I'm looking at, they're going to tell you that Alabama is just a better team. And at the end of the day, they don't have to have reasons. If Ohio State went out and beat Wisconsin the way they did in 2014, when they were in question that year, TCU and Baylor were the odds-on favorites to get in that year, and Ohio State leapfrogged both of those teams into the top 4, and they went on to win the national championship. As you'll notice, they've won 59-0. Urban Meyer was on top of mountains that night, telling everybody in the world that his team should be in over TCU and Baylor. Urban Meyer wasn't on top of mountains this time, yelling about how his team should be in. And when Urban Meyer got the news, Urban Meyer wasn't beating on top of a table saying, how dare they leave my team out. Urban Meyer, I think, deep down knows that his team's probably not ready for what they would have seen if they took on Clemson this year. So, to me, the best 4 got in. We can argue about it. We can discuss how they came to this. At the end of the day, it's just about who are the best teams. I personally look at it and say the committee has some serious stones, I guess you could say, to put the SEC champ in, an ACC champ in, leave out the Big Ten champ, throw in another SEC champ, and the Big 12 champion gets in with Oklahoma. The easy way, the politically correct way, would have been to put Ohio State in and kind of check all the boxes, no harm, no foul. Instead, I think people should be applauding that they were willing to do this, because next year it might be your team that's in this scenario. It might be your conference that's in this scenario. So I applaud what they did. It took a lot of courage and guts to do it. And like I said, at the end of the day, in my opinion, they have the best 4 teams in.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.